Hey everyone, and welcome to Meet the Prof. This is the podcast where we seek to encourage Christ-centered conversations on the college campus. And my name is Shane Hartley, and my friend Spence Hackney and I take questions from college students and ask them to Christian professors. And thank you so much for listening, whether you're a college student or a professor or someone who cares about the college campus. Thank you for tuning in now. And you'll have a treat of hearing our interview now with Jhon Figueroa. And I promise you, I did not spell his name incorrectly. If you see it in the description, he has a very unique spelling for Jhon. But Jhon is professor of chemistry at the University of South Florida. And we had a lot of fun talking with him, and we actually have it in 2 interviews. So you're going to hear part 1 now, and we'll release part 2 next week. And before we get started, if you please remember to click on like or subscribe or follow wherever you're listening to this podcast. If it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or anything. In fact, don't forget we are on YouTube if you're listening to this and you want to see what these professors look like. So, well, let's get started. Here is our interview with Jhon. Well, Jhon, I am so excited to get to interview you. And one of the reasons is because, one reason is because you're a Florida guy. So I just love Florida. The second reason is when I met you for the first time, we were at a conference for college students. It was put on by one of my best friends, John Schneider, with Crew. And it was a Crew fall retreat about an hour outside Tampa, off in the country, beautiful lake. And you and a handful of other Christian professors came just to encourage the students. You spoke on a panel one night. And so I wanted to ask you about your impression of the students there, because I was thinking maybe you probably surprised some people. To me, at least, you strike me as a disciplined professor, teacher type. And but you came with your wife and your beautiful son. It seems like he's less than a year at that point, year old.
Yeah, he's 17 months right now.
Is he really? So he's beautiful. So I was wondering what that retreat was like for you. What was your impression of those college students? There was like over 100 of them.
No. I mean, normally classes that I teach is more than 200. So it's normal to be around them and be able to speak and mentoring. I've been mentoring my students for many years. So this type of conversations are very natural to engage with. So, and my wife, she's fully supported in here. We actually help with the youth ministry. So we are involved in it. She knows the importance of actually reaching out to that specific niche of people, right? They're our future. And if we don't want to go in the direction of the book of Judges mentioned about when Joshua passed away. And it said the next generation, when everybody dies, next generation didn't know God. And that's something that always is in my heart. Yeah, that's not happening in my generation. It's not happening in my generation.
Well, and you and your wife have a ministry together. That's great. You have a passion for college students together.
Yeah. Are you normally teaching undergrad classes or grad classes?
Yeah, my role has been changing with the years, and I used to teach, hopefully maybe in the spring they open it again, but I have a class that I developed for safety in the chemistry lab. So I'm the part of my duties as a safety coordinator is keep teaching that portion. So it was one portion for the PhD students and one for undergrads. But my normal duties is Jenkins 1 and 2, like which I'm going to be teaching again in the fall.
Mm-hmm. I got
What
you.
are you? What kind of a teacher are you? Are you very hard? Do students think you're a difficult teacher and grader?
No, I don't think so. My approach is I want the people to actually love chemistry. So in my kindly, my kindness in regards to accepting people different opinions about chemistry. When they arrive to the classes, they normally hate it. I know that. I have nothing against that, but I am the type of person that trying to change that mentality. And my idea is I want to show you the chemistry in a different lens that you will love. And then at least if you're not going to become a chemist, at least you're going to appreciate chemistry from this day on. So
yeah.
And it normally happens.
Oh, good. Success.
All right, so what is the secret? Like, what's the secret sauce for getting somebody who hates chemistry to love chemistry? How do you boil it down?
Being able to relate it. I mean, context is everything. If I just come to you and I start talking about, let's see, osmotic pressure, and then I put a formula in there, and there you get like, what the heck? I don't want to even pay attention to this. But if I start telling you that our cells in the body. They have this osmotic pressure too. And then when you go to the hospital, I say, what's the concentration of normal saline that you put you? 0.4, 0.9. And then we start talking about related things. And the majority of them are in the medical field. So I always try to bring that first. I bring that first. What is out there, what they see, what they know, like intermolecular forces. They say when you go to a restaurant and then it's a dry glass, and then they put you cold water, immediately you have water outside. What happened in there? Is it broken? What is it? Then we have the discussion, right? And then we start with the chemistry behind. But I always, and I put quotes at the very beginning, one quote, and we talk about whatever the quote says about it. It's normally encouragement, right? So that you can do it, you're able, things like that from presidents or famous quotes that we discuss 2 minutes. And then we enter into our topics.
Yeah. It strikes me as that's sort of the same struggle we have in sharing the gospel sometimes, is that we start sharing fact and we start, sharing the argument and that sort of thing. And we never take the time to say,
it is true.
How does this play out in your situation?
I cannot talk about the love of Jesus for somebody if I don't show love to that person, right? If I don't ask how you doing, how's your family doing, is you okay? Are you eating okay? Because we have issues with the students. Sometimes they don't have, especially internationals, they lack that support that they need for that. And then this is my, showing Jesus love you by me showing love here. So context matters. So always have this context in between all the conversations, so it will be good.
Context matters. Let me ruin our context here, because I want students to know the real you. So we need to hear the most embarrassing moment that you had as an undergrad. Like, there's something out there we need to hear about.
I mean, when I was an undergrad, it was very hard for me, calculus, and I have to do quantum mechanics. So I'm not a genius, but I'm a person that is devoted to achieve. So I can repeat taskings until I learn it well, right? So I have to spend many, many, many more hours than many other people to learn a topic, especially that deep math. So I remember that we have a test, and then we decide to stay in school back in Colombia, studying, and we actually stay in the room and we fall asleep. We fell asleep in there. And then we were in the room, we moved the chairs and everything, and the teacher came in the morning to give us the test, and we were still on the floor. That was embarrassing. But
you weren't alone. There was more than one student who fell asleep.
We were 7 or 8 studying, but only 3 slept that day in that room. And we were, not well presented, and we have to run and trying to, do the best to come back and take the test.
Our listeners will recognize this story some if they heard our interview with Rob Niewohner. He fell asleep. He was alone, though. He fell asleep in the classroom next to the one he was supposed to be in.
So apparently a lot of great minds and smart people sleep in their classrooms is what I'm taking away from this.
Yeah, that's what this means.
Yeah. And so you went to...
I don't know, coming to you and give you some type of knowledge. I don't know. That was...
I love it. Yeah. And so you went to undergrad in Colombia, and then you came to the U.S. for grad school. Is that right?
Yes. I actually came as a refugee, which is a different story. And I finished... I have a undergrad degree on education on biochemistry, and then I went to a public university to do pure and applied chemistry. And then I finished some upper level grad studies in pathology, and then I moved in here for, as a refugee, ideally to actually do a PhD, but I didn't have English. I was not ready for that. So it took me 9 years. Between arriving to get into school, because I barely speak English when I came.
You had to learn the language before the PhD.
It was a hard transition, and I started driving cars in Navy's rental car at the airport.
Yeah.
Working 12, 15 hours per day to make it work.
Yeah, you are a hard worker then. I can see you having to stick at it to do that. Not only get the language down enough to live in the community, but to excel and get a PhD. It's really impressive.
It was complicated. I took the test, the GRE, twice because I failed English the first time. So it took me another year and a half to study a little bit more of English before I passed the test. That portion, because everything else I passed it before.
How was that for you when you went through the failing process? Because I think a lot of college students would probably be surprised to know a professor has failed anything in school.
Failing is part of life, and I already embraced that. I was born in a very poor family in a poor location where very, very few people get out, right? So failing it was part of my daily life. So it was not something new, but overcoming was the part that always put me apart from people, right? I'm not gonna stop. I'm gonna continue doing it until I get something out of it. So that was my motivation. It was I cannot just fail. I did not come here to drive cars. I have my profession and I love it and I'm gonna do it. So I'm gonna keep studying. I didn't say I'm gonna took it in 2 months because it was unrealistic. And I said I'm gonna take the test after a year. I'm gonna study every day, and I put a schedule myself after work, 1 hour study. I put like a real schedule, and I follow the schedule. So it was not randomly studying. Now it was actually Monday through Friday. These times are for studying, and then even weekends also. So
very disciplined.
You know what else I love about the picture of your life is that so many students go through and say, I've got this planned out. At 22, this is going to happen. At 25, I'm going to get married. I'm going to have this job. I'm going to whatever. And you're 10 years late, maybe to some regard, but it's God's perfect timing for you right now. Just, be having a young kid and in school. And I think about my own son. I'm like, God's timing is what's important, not the timing that's in your head for the most part. I love that.
I have the same. I actually lost it when I moved to here. I lost everything that I have at home, but I have it in writing also. By this age, I want to be achieving this and that, and a PhD was one of my keys. By 27, I supposed to be graduating from my PhD, but I was late almost 10 years. But I never stopped it, so it was good.
Yeah, you accomplished it.
You are perfectly on God's time, though. That's what I think. Absolutely. All that 8 years made you the man you are right now, which apparently is a pretty good man because the students like you, and you're doing effective work for the Lord, and so definitely not wasted.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel blessed being here, though.
Yeah.
Jhon, did your difficult upbringing have anything to do with you coming to faith in Christ, and what was your faith like as you grew up and got into college yourself?
I mean, I grew up in a Catholic environment. My family very Catholic, and my neighbor, it was Jehovah's Witness. That's what it is. Yeah. And I went with them for many years because they give us free food. And I remember that was my drawing. And then as I said, we were poor, right? So there was not many resources. So when they invite me to church, I said, yeah, sure. Then I eat breakfast like 3 times because I changed my chair, and then I put another one on top so I can go in the line again and eat again. And then I put a hot, we use all the tricks to go there. Yep. But I always pay attention to things. When people like music or people talk, I always listen what they say. Always listen. And then if it has something good for me, I will be drawn to it. So even I was going there because of the food, I always was listening to what they said. Also, my grandma, she used to take me to this a very nice church back in Colombia that all Catholics go there to pay some type of penitence or something. I don't know what the word they use, but they go there and then they sometimes even they kneel and go and walk like a mile on their knees, and then they bleed and all this. And I was with my grandma, and I was very young, and I started looking at it, and I was in shock seeing them bleeding. I said, "What they doing this?" And they said, "Oh no, they are paying for repentance." And I said, "That's the way it works. I don't think I'm gonna do it." And I was very young. And then my grandma used to go, and then they touch the statues and kiss them and pray. And I was like in awe since I was why they do that. And I even myself knocking and see what the material was. It was fun in that sense. I always go and get a few things that I can come in with my friends and But when I was 23. Oh, my mom, this is a nice story. My mom always invited me. She became Christian at one point in her life. I don't know when, but she started inviting me to her church. And I said, "Mama, next Sunday." And she said, "Okay." And then next Sunday, of course, I was sleeping and she come, are you going to come with me? And I was super sleepy. I said, no, mama, next week. And it was constantly, but she never stopped. She always come and said, do you want to come? And I said, no. Then one day, it was a F1 Formula race. I love those races. So it was early in the morning. She invited me and said, no, mama, I'm going to watch something on TV today. And she didn't complain. She just like, then I woke up, turned the TV, and it was a remote control, and I turned it on, and then went to a couch, cover myself and wait, because he's supposed to be at 6:30, and I turned it at 6:30. And he was not. He was a preacher. Somebody was preaching, and I put the remote control far away from me, so I just put it in there, and then, oh man, now I have to listen to this guy. I can't believe it. And I was lazy enough not to grab it and change it, right? So he was talking, and then he said, "Now it's a new song from Arturo Gonzalez. I don't remember the name clearly, but when the song starts, and the song is Thank You God, it's called Thank God, and then he starts saying thank you God for the food, for the trees, for the sky, for the stars, for the friends, for family. And I was in shock to hear somebody saying to a God that I don't know, thank you for the food, thank you for your friends, for your family. And I was not being thankful. If that is true, why I'm not thankful? It was just that day changed completely my view. So since that day on, I started seeking God myself. Like I was asking questions, asking my mom. I went to my mom next Sunday and I started listening and, digging, reading the Bible. It took me years. I mean, I'm still doing it. But at the end of the year, I read John. And when I read John and I saw that God, Jesus is being always there since the beginning of creation of the universe, I couldn't believe it. I say, what life I've been living that I didn't know. I thought that Jesus was a little Jesus. We call little Jesus in Colombia, right? Would you get gifts from little Jesus on the 24th? So I thought that he was born the 24th and grow up like a man, but nothing before. When I discovered that myself, once again, I threw everything that I knew about religion away. And I said, I'm not going to believe in anything that people told me before. I'm going to go myself and seek him. Because now it was something new. And every time that I start reading the Bible, I get something new. And it was like, why nobody told me this before? Why? And I went to church like I was 23. And I've been going to church since I was a baby because they take me. And I didn't know those things. And I felt, I don't know, like betrayed it, or it's like when you go to a school that you don't learn anything in school. It's like wasting your money, your time. That I feel now. So. And the seeking still remains. So.
I have never heard anyone who shared that seeing Christians be thankful, hearing Christians be thankful is what helped lead them to Jesus themselves. What was it about the hearing them being thankful that caused you to really start seeking Jesus yourself?
Because for me, as I mentioned before, coming from a poor family, we always have help from my grandma that was here in the United States, or family members that give us things. And I was very grateful because sometimes it means a gift for me when I was younger, or sometimes it means maybe I can buy something because my uncle come and give me money to buy something that my dad couldn't give me. So I always was very thankful, and I want to express always my thankfulness to people. I always say thank you so much, and I will do something for them. But when I hear this song that somebody's doing something for me that I didn't know, and I was not thankful, that was shocking.
Wow.
That was the reasoning behind in my mind. I said, no, I need to figure it out. This is true. I need to be thankful too. So
that's amazing. Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. What a great start. What other turning points have you seen in your spiritual journey since that point? What are the milestones in your life?
I will tell you, there's so many points in which I always discover. I read the Bible like top to bottom, right? All the way. And I've been doing it for years, and I come back, and every time I find something new, something that opened my eyes. Like right now with my son, to make it short, I've been teaching, mentoring, all the things that you imagine through the years, supporting the ministries and all this. And when I have my son, and he got his first vaccine. I was with him. He got his first vaccine, and injecting his leg. And he cries about, and I saw this lady with the needle, and she did that to my son. And I honestly, something like fire came through me, and I want to choke the nurse.
She was
Of
hurting your
course, I
son.
didn't know it. I mean, I was, but seeing that person doing something to my son, it just, I don't know, put something in me that was not there. And then I just, trying to calm down the baby. But I was going out to my house, and I thought about how God felt when he saw his son being crucified.
Ooh.
And it was completely different meaning. Like, I cried, I don't know, on my way home, just thinking about his pain, because my pain was just a little, punk on his leg. And he was okay after 10 seconds, but I was not okay. And I can imagine how that happens. And since then, everything that I see it through the lenses of being a father. Before, I was not a father. I've been a father 17 months ago, not before. Now everything is through that lens, and it's completely new. Love, all the expressions of love. When I was reading the Bible, it says, God forgive the sins of people. And I said, what? Why? They so bad. They should be killed. They should not be forgiven. And I was in my heart saying, no. I didn't understand the part of God. He says God is love, but he said, well, I don't know, that's weird. But now that I have my son, I understand that, and it's amazing. To me, it's amazing how completely changed. And I understand many things that I didn't understand before, like how he said that he loved us first. And I was thinking, how can somebody love me first? They don't know me. Why is that? Why somebody's going to love me like that? I don't know. It was weird. But now my son, I love him before I even met him. As soon as I know that I'm going to be a father, I start loving him. And now, as I said, everything changed. And every time that I read the Bible now, again, everything is through those lenses. It's like a huge new thing. I didn't know that this kind of love existed. And I was deprived of it for many years, for 50 years. And now I have it. I mean, I don't know. It's just amazing, and I've been enjoying it. And as I said, everything is new now. Everything that happens is new. When I read, when I teach, when I mentor, it's a different perspective. And that diminish somebody that do not have kids, because I was like that for 49 years. I'm sorry, not 50. But now I see things differently. So once again, context matter. So if I'm going to talk about the prodigal son now, context matter to me right now. I will forgive my son.
Yeah. What a beautiful picture. Hey, I'm sending my 20-year-old to college today, but we're moving him out. You clean out his room, knowing he's not coming back. And I was just this morning about how much I love the boy, how grateful I am for him. I had the same thought you did about God. Thought the same way about Jesus too. How much I love this boy. I watched him grow up. And here he is. I'm sending him out, and I'm just sending him 2 hours away. Like he's and God had to be separated from that son, and what pain that can cause.
Yeah, absolutely.
So grateful. We truly have a good God, and I love how you're learning. Like, I love how you're a 49-year-old fellow, and you're still learning about your identity, in Christ. And I think that's where we never stop learning that. I love you being open about it. Thank you for sharing that with us.
No, thank you for asking.
One of my takeaways so far from this, Jhon, is just how much we can learn from the context we're in. And just what a powerful story there, too, of it not being until you're a father yourself that you could really understand more of the love of the Father for us, that he would give Jesus, because his love for Jesus, and he was willing to sacrifice him. So I have a question that comes from this too, because I'm picturing you as a chemistry professor then. So in the context of chemistry, what have you learned and seen that shows you something about God, that causes you to worship God? And are you able to pass any of that on to your students?
I don't know. To me, this is straightforward. I always liked sciences when I was young. I always wanted to see how things work, and I used to open radios and all TVs and trying to put it together. Sometimes they didn't work, but I'm doing my best always since I was very young. So when I decided to go in chemistry route, is to understand how things work. And it was my drawing was, I want to know why this is happening, why this is reacting, why is this color, all these things.
Yeah.
And now through the lenses of chemistry, I was more into it. But when I start getting interested in God, and I start seeing like, this is not random. This could not be random. This is a engineered design. An engineer, think about that. And when I see, my first degree was biochemistry. When you see all these complex reactions, and that's why I call biochemistry, the biology and the chemistry getting together, getting reactions, like enzymes, like moving one atom out of it, a complex molecule, and do something amazing. And they think that is randomly created. It makes no sense. It is more difficult to believe that was randomly created than actually by design. It is difficult to create that. To believe that is in that way. Let's see, for instance, the transportation of oxygen is something as simple. You do this all the time. You don't know that the hemoglobin is a complex molecule. It's so huge, and it, mixed with things. And inside there's 4 atoms of iron, and the iron get attached to the oxygen, attached to the iron, and then it goes around your body and then release the oxygen by changes in concentration. It's a Le Chatelier principle, and it's like magic. And I always say, when you see it that way, but it's actually a creation. It's a design. Somebody thought about it. Somebody think this is the way it should be, and it is. If you think about evolution, that trial and error, it would never happen, because everybody would die. So who are gonna try next if everybody dies? Because if you fail to deliver oxygen, it's done deal. You don't have the chance to recover. So that science brought to me many, again, it's like showing me what the book of Romans says about, hey, God is there. You can see it. The proof that he exists, it's just there. Just go and look at the sky.
Yeah.
God is there, go look on the trees and the water, your body, and then you see is there. The proof is there. It's an engineer, like the moon. If the moon moves a little bit further or closer, we will be dead. If we are closer or farther from the sun, we'll be dead. If we have more water than we have, we'll be dead. It's just, you name it. It's so precise that cannot be random.
Well, doesn't this make you like chemistry a little bit more? I think some of his passion is contagious. So thank you so much for listening in. And again, this is just part 1 of the interview with Jhon. Stay tuned. Next week, we'll release part 2 of the interview. And don't forget to like or subscribe where you're listening. If you're a college student, check out meettheprof.com to find a Christian professor either on your campus or near you. And if you go to Instagram also, you can follow along and even ask a question to a professor that way. And if you are wanting to support our ministry financially, you can give online at give.cru.org/0424344. So thank you again for listening. And until next time, we hope this encourages you to have a Christ-centered conversation.